Here, in the hinterlands of the third space, academic identity is a precarious business. If they are to survive, our academic developers will need to adapt. Knowledge alone is quite useless. It is only an ability to improvise, to reflect back their surroundings, that provides camouflage amidst the icy glare of the academy. We are professional readers of rooms, performing the role of ourselves as experts in different adaptations to satisfy the desires of our audiences. Gathered in communities of practice, we are the experts at the centre. Some are driven to nurture the colony, coaxing and cajoling colleagues to reach the warm huddle at its heart. Academic developers act as cultural intermediaries, recognising and validating aspects of cultural capital. However, our identity as experts is fractured. Our work as gatekeepers belies our institutional habitus. We operate through everyday interactions. Each unique situation seems to require something rather different. And academic developers know just how to pitch their pedagogic knowledge, often with great artistry, and sometimes in disguise. We dissemble to engage our audience. We intuit with exquisite accuracy the first signs of resistance, and our pedagogic muscle memory bobs a curtsy to disciplinary expertise, and on we go. Does this confirm us to be masters of improvisation? Or do such humble disavowals undermine our credibility and place our status as experts in jeopardy? Drawing on qualitative data generated through a letter writing project, the 4 pieces that follow surface the fault lines which run between professional confidence and frustration. Our first story offers multiple unmaskings of concealed emotion, of unveiled failure, and of impenitent reflection. Here, Bourdieu's concept of illusio becomes helpful, pointing to the internalized rules and vested interests of the game, which both define and are shaped by the boundaries of the field. Here, those rules are twice broken, by our absent academic who fails to internalize appropriate professional values, and by our letter writer who has been unable to bring him into the game. Natasha's analysis also returns us to King's characteristics of teaching expertise, pedagogical content knowledge, professional learning, and artistry of teaching.
In our role as academic developers, we assume and expect our colleagues to share our values, but this isn't always the case. Take this example. Our author has encountered a difficult student on her PG Cert course. He patronises other members of the group and is mean to students during the teaching observation. She writes, "Clearly I kept my professional mask firmly in place to conceal my feelings. Yes, I fed back on his teaching observation and we had a lengthy, if ultimately futile conversation about him becoming more inclusive in his practice with both students and with his colleagues. However, he made little of this in his final submitted assignments and yet was still able to meet the learning outcomes of the module and pass. My response was a timely reminder that yes, I am human, but also that there's very little I could say or do in this situation to make a difference." When we follow the rules of the game, we put on our professional masks, politely share our knowledge and experiences, whose interests have we served? From a position of expertise, we reflect on incidents like this, seeking a solution. But do we fall short of making a difference because we underestimate our ability to change the rules of the game?
Our second piece taps into the reflexive nature of academic development, which means questions of identity and exploring the traits of characteristics of academic developers abound. There is much mention of the importance of our values-based approaches and our collaborative and caring ways of working in the literature. Catriona argues a toxic illusio draws individuals into the game and entices them to stay, because the toxic illusio itself performs a critical function and fulfills a strong need for the individual to have certainty in their life.
At the time of the pandemic, there was much made about the increased visibility of educational developers and their role in asserting the importance of kindness at this time. For one of our authors, this led to the observation that you can see on your screen. For me, there's something dangerous about the imposition of values here, as well as the tension between being kind in our representation as change agents of a university's approach to learning and teaching, and the system itself, which are of course far from kind, and in which injustice is embedded in the very infrastructure of the university itself. Can we be more honest about this tension with ourselves and within our communities, acknowledge that these unkind systems exist, and instead explore how we can subvert, circumvent, and even combat these systems? Of course, the other paradox here is the refrain to be human, the assumption being that we are otherwise not human. This reinforces the university infrastructure as a place that does indeed dehumanise us all as cogs in the machine, and somehow denies us agency as individual humans with our contexts, knowledge, experiences and expertise.
Our third excerpt prompts us to review the biggest improvisation of them all, the response to the coronavirus pandemic. Jennie's analysis cast doubt on our openness. Did this in some ways longed for opportunity to own our own expertise, to be loved, to never have to say we were sorry, allow our ego to sabotage us? Did we lose the spirit of yes and by arriving at a one-note yes, closing down possibility and sacrificing the values that we hold dear?
In this quote, the letter writer is reacting to some tweets that were meant to reassure, but looked to them more like a pedagogic horror show. We could argue that during the pandemic, our expertise was more valued than ever before. No need to apologise for that expertise, and, you would think, no need to defer. And yet, if we're honest with ourselves, defer we did. Pandemic teaching was the game we were willing to play. Of course, we were responding to a situation like no other. We did so with solutions rooted in our existing expertise. Now the immediate drama is over and we are speaking with our louding voices at conferences and in journal papers about the lessons learned, buttressing our expertise. But are we also paying attention to the quieter voices? The noise is off, asking us to consider if by drawing on the narratives that validated our expertise in normal times and improvising them in that pandemic space, we betrayed the values that so many of us argue underpin our practice. Should we have spent more time questioning how students might have learned best under those exceptional conditions?
Our closing piece examines an improvisation of self as the letter writer seeks to exchange cultural capital for economic capital. This narrative of resistance imagines an agentic self which is enmeshed in multiple versions, adaptations and borrowings, but yet is determined to find authenticity and emotional truth. The writer both inhabits and resists apology as professional identity, offering a Janus-faced version of Macfarlane's penitent self, at once a paean to impostorism and its antidote, the journey from initial apologetic fragility disrupted by the knowingness of pastiche.
Would you like to join them? Now!
Running up that road, be running up that hill. With